Hey there, this is Sid and today we shall solve a SQL problem from StrataScratch. The title of the problem is Top Streamers. It's listed as a medium difficulty problem and the ID of the problem is 2010. As always, we shall start off by having a look at the input table provided in the problem. I have exported the input table to Excel so that it is easier to investigate. So this is our input table. It lists the activities of certain users on a certain streaming channel. It has 5 columns: the user ID, the start and end of the session ID, and the session type. So as you can see, each user can join a session either as a streamer or as a viewer. Now let us go back to the problem statement. The problem statement says that list the users who had more sessions where they were streamers than viewers. Going back to Excel, I have solved the problem using this pivot table here. These IDs 0, 1, 2 and 3 are the user IDs. These numbers here are the number of streaming sessions and these numbers here are the number of viewing sessions. And I have created a column called streaming greater than viewing, whether that is true or false. That is true only for the user ID 0 who had 2 streaming sessions and 1 viewing session. For all the other 3 users, the number of streaming session is not greater than the number of viewing sessions. So our output will be the user ID 0 along with the number of streaming and viewing sessions, because the problem statement says that return the user ID, the number of streaming sessions and the number of viewing sessions. As always, we shall first look at the SQL query in Notepad++, and once we understand the query, we shall run the query in StrataScratch SQL editor window to see how it works. I have created a CTE called session type counts, where for each user ID I have calculated the count of streaming sessions and count of viewing sessions. How did I do that? So to find out the number of streaming sessions and the number of viewing sessions for each user as 2 separate columns, we have used 2 calculated columns here using case when statements. The first calculated column counts the streaming sessions and the second one counts the viewing sessions. So how do these calculated columns work? I have used a case when statement for that. So in the first one, I have assigned a value of 1 when the session type is streamer, and otherwise I have assigned a value of 0. So what this will do is, if we go back to the Excel file, every time for a user the session type is streamer, it will assign a value of 1 here, and if the session type is viewer, it will assign a value of 0 here. So for example, for user 0, this will be the value of that case when statement, and then I have put that inside a sum comment. So when you sum over these 3 numbers, you will get a 2. Thus the number of streaming sessions for user 0 is 2. That is what is exactly happening here. And I have done the same thing for the viewing sessions as well. And then I have grouped by the user ID, so that for each user ID I have the count of streaming and viewing sessions. So once the CTE is ready, I have selected the top 10 command here and provided the user ID, the streaming session count and the viewing session count from that CTE, where the streaming session count is greater than the viewing session count. So now that we understand the SQL query, let us go back to the StrataScratch editor window and try to run this query. When I run this query, the output I get here is user ID 0 and the streaming session count is 2 and the viewing session count is 1, which agrees with the output provided by StrataScratch. So I hope I was able to explain the solution to this problem. I shall keep coming back with solutions to more SQL problems from StrataScratch, so please stay tuned.